What does it mean for a game to disrespect its player? One game that I played recently that I felt utterly disrespected by was the Game Boy Advance version of SpongeBob SquarePants Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. This seemingly innocuous little game based on a popular TV show hides some design choices so ridiculously bad I just had to bring them to light. The problem with Revenge of the Flying Dutchman is more than just a few bad levels. There is one design choice that fundamentally damages the entire gameplay experience: the level keys. The objective of the game is to find all of the Flying Dutchman's special treasures. In order to collect these treasures, you need to collect 3 keys and open the Dutchman's chest. While this seems like a simple framing device for the levels, the key system has some unintended consequences that destroy the gameplay experience. The keys turn this game into almost a sort of Metroidvania, rather than a typical linear 2D platformer. However, the developers didn't fully commit to this game being a Metroidvania, so they didn't add in the other elements that make Metroidvanias work. In these levels, you find yourself getting lost and backtracking, but the game lacks any way to fast travel back to a place you've already been, and the game lacks a world map to help you keep track of where you've been and where you're going. I found myself in multiple levels missing a key and just having to backtrack all around the level searching for it. And I think a majority of first-time players, especially kids, had this same experience. This artificially pads out the game time. The best levels in the game are the ones where the keys are immediately available because they are right in your path. But at that point, what's the point of there even being keys? It may as well just be a regular linear level at this point. There is not any part of the game where the presence of the keys makes the gameplay better. They only make it worse. The levels are much longer than what you'd expect in a 2D platformer license game, which would have been impressive if the levels weren't so darn awful. Also, if you lose all your lives and get a game over, you have to start the entire level from the very beginning. Lives aren't too hard to come by, especially because every level includes a fun little minigame called Jellyfish Rodeo that grants 1-ups. So, if you're a moderately skilled player, you'll usually have enough lives to keep yourself from game over. But if you find yourself walking into a level with only 1 or 2 lives left, you might find yourself starting over. So watch out. The game just shouldn't have had an extra life system at all, as it only serves to inconvenience the player and punish them by making them replay parts of the game they've already completed. There is also one other optional collectible in the game in the form of gold doubloons. There's usually between 100 to 200 of these things floating in each level. Beyond being collectibles, the doubloons help you easily identify if you've already been to a certain part of a level. They don't do it as well as a map would, but it's something. I usually found myself missing about 5 or 6 doubloons per level, and after all the backtracking the game already made me do just to find the keys, I just could not bring myself to scour these boring levels to find the rest. The reward for getting all the doubloons is apparently some extra little challenge levels. I don't have any footage of that because I didn't get all the doubloons. It's strange that the developers made some little challenge levels that I assume a really small percentage of the players of this game actually unlocked, considering how tedious the doubloon collecting would be. But beyond the issues with the game's structure, there is actually one part of this game that is even worse. Its downright horrible final boss. Before we get into this game's final boss, I want to let you know that I cover the SpongeBob TV series as well over on my other channel. Stories are meaningful. I think you'd really enjoy my episode where I criticize the My Leg episode. Link in the description. The game's final boss, which is the Flying Dutchman, is offensively badly designed. So, the Dutchman goes around and he shoots fire at you. When he shoots the fire, you can hit him with a bubble. When you hit him with a bubble, he does this other attack where he drops some barrels. With this battle structure, the game communicates to me that hitting the Dutchman with the bubble is what damages him. But after hitting Dutchman with about 20 bubbles, I started to realize that perhaps this isn't the way to defeat him. It turns out that the bubble isn't actually what damages him. It's hitting the barrels with your karate glove that damages him. So basically, you've got to bubble him, and when you bubble him, he drops the barrels, and then those barrels are what actually hurt him. And you are gonna lose countless lives as you struggle to figure this out. But the problem isn't just that it's a badly designed fight with cheap difficulty. What makes this final boss one of the worst in all of gaming is its game over penalty. Most bosses in this game exist in their own level, meaning that in boss levels, a game over penalty is no more inconvenient than a regular failure, since all you have to do is restart the fight. The final boss is not its own level. The final boss exists at the end of the final level, and the final level is long. If you run out of lives while fighting the Dutchman, you will have to play the entire about 20-minute long final level again. Most likely, you'll have a nice little stockpile of lives going into the final level if you've done a lot of jellyfish rodeos and played decently well. But there's such a learning curve to the final Dutchman fight that even if you have around 10 lives, you're all but guaranteed a game over if this is your first time playing the game. And keep in mind, this would be assuming this is an above average player, not this game's target audience, which was me at 8 years old. So this game is expecting its player base to play the final level multiple times while getting copious amounts of game overs. There's one workaround to this that doesn't require cheating or save states: the Jellyfish Rave. There's this little piece of side content where you play a memory game that involves pressing the same buttons as the jellyfish. It's extremely slow-paced, is stingy with the extra lives, and not mentally stimulating. I am not exaggerating. You'll probably need to grind like 50 to 75 lives here in order to comfortably attempt Dutchman boss fights without getting booted back to the start of the final level. You get a 1-up probably about every 45 seconds of playing the Jellyfish Rave, so you'll be grinding 1-ups for at least an hour. This minigame is not fun at all, so enjoy a miserable hour. I'm sure plenty of you out there who had this game as kids unlocked the final level, but I'm sure none of you actually finished it. I sure didn't, and that's not your fault. It's on the developers. They should have understood that this would probably be a lot of kids' first games, and to have it be that the final boss is basically unbeatable for the average player without an unreasonable amount of tedium is just a disgrace. That's the word I would use to describe this game. Unreasonable. It's unreasonable for this game to ask me to backtrack through levels looking for keys. It's unreasonable for it to hide so many doubloons in these boring labyrinth levels. It's unreasonable for it to ask me to replay its final level a dozen or more times. What's so unfortunate about this game being borderline unbeatable is there are actually a lot of great qualities to it. The platforming is really solid. SpongeBob controls well, and it really feels like it's taking place in the world of SpongeBob. So far, I've played and reviewed this game and Super Sponge. Link in the description to my video of Super Sponge, by the way. Of the two GBA SpongeBob games I've played so far, I think this game is still better than Super Sponge overall. Super Sponge GBA is just such a nothing game that, at times, it doesn't even feel like SpongeBob. While at least I didn't get lost in Super Sponge's levels, they were so painstakingly easy that I felt nothing playing them. I may have gotten lost in Dutchman's levels, but at least I was lost in what felt like the SpongeBob universe. Hey, if you like this video and would like to see me play some SpongeBob games over on my live stream highlight channel, check out this video right here. Or you could check out one of my other video essays on SpongeBob games right here. If you like what I do and want to see me do more of it, consider becoming a channel member or supporting my Patreon. Link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.